And thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, once again, former President Donald Trump hit with an indictment along with 18 allies, this time in Georgia, for meddling in the state's election in 2020. How old is too old with so many American politicians, including President Biden, in their 80s? Many voters are asking, are they still fit for public office? A father who lost one son and nearly lost another is warning other parents about the dangers of fake prescription pills children are buying on the street because they contain deadly amounts of fentanyl. And our behind-the-scenes look at the making of the CBN docudrama Oracles of God, about how the Bible as we have it today came into being. All those stories and more ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin this half hour with yet another indictment for former President Donald Trump. Overnight, the former president slapped with yet another set of charges, this time by a grand jury out of Georgia, accusing him and 18 others of sweeping criminal conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election in the Peach State. Reporter Caitlin Burke is on the story.
The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result.
Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis has led a multi-year investigation into allegations of election interference. They were sparked in part by a phone call from then-President Trump. In it, he appeared to pressure Georgia's Secretary of State to find the votes needed to win back the White House.
Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors.
The 97-page indictment includes 13 new felony charges against Trump and 41 charges overall, including solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer, engaging in a conspiracy to replace public officials with fake electors, and plotting to tamper with voting machines. Others indicted include Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, and John Eastman. In a Truth Social post early this morning, Trump called the prosecuting DA corrupt and accused her of stalling her investigation, writing, quote, "Why didn't they indict 2.5 years ago? Because they wanted to do it right in the middle of my political campaign. Witch hunt." Trump allies on Capitol Hill once again coming to his defense. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tweeting, quote, "Americans see through this desperate sham." It's the fourth indictment handed down against the former president, including federal charges related to his handling of classified documents after leaving the White House and federal charges of an alleged scheme to overturn the 2020 election. On CBN's Faith Nation program, Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections, predicts Trump supporters will remain unfazed.
I think that it will go in the same basket of these investigations. They're just out to get him, and they continue to be on his side.
You know, every time you get indicted, I like to check the polls because one more indictment that I think this election's over. One more.
District Attorney Willis gave all defendants, including Trump, until Friday, August 25th to turn themselves in, and added she wants to hold the trial within the next 6 months. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Age is likely to be an issue in the upcoming presidential campaign, as younger GOP presidential hopefuls are suggesting Joe Biden's America's oldest president is no longer fit to serve. Age is also a concern for other politicians. About 25% of our elected officials are older than age 70. Recent incidents involving older politicians on both sides of the aisle have raised the question, should there be an age limit on running for office? CBN White House correspondent Abigail Robertson is on this story.
The Constitution explicitly states you must be a minimum of 35 years old to run for the presidency or a U.S. Senate seat, and 25 years old to run for Congress. Yet no boundaries exist for a maximum age to hold office. While the majority of Americans currently believe that should change, there are few options to address rising concerns.
Let's face it, we've got a lot of people in leadership positions that are old.
GOP presidential hopeful Nikki Haley has been calling for politicians to undergo some sort of cognitive health screening long before she jumped in the 2024 race.
We seriously need to have a conversation that if you're going to have anyone above a certain age in a position of power, whether it's the House, whether it's the Senate, whether it's vice president, whether it's president, you should have some sort of cognitive test.
Nearly 25% of Capitol Hill lawmakers are over 70 years old. 2 incidents brought the age question front and center. First, 81-year-old Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell mysteriously paused for 30 seconds during his weekly news conference.
Okay, Mitch. Anything else you want to say, or should I just go back to your office? Do you want to say anything else to the press?
As other senators moved in, McConnell walked away, then returned a few minutes later to declare he was fine. The following day, 90-year-old California Senator Dianne Feinstein appeared confused during a committee meeting.
Senator Feinstein.
Yeah, just say aye. Okay, just aye.
Feinstein's almost 3-month absence earlier this year cost her to miss 91 votes, a major problem for Senate Democrats who hold a slim 1-seat majority, and led to some in her own party publicly calling for her resignation.
Let's remember, Dianne Feinstein was reelected. Mitch McConnell was reelected. I mean, if it's about we the people, and we the people are voting for these folks knowing that their age may indeed be a factor, or if it's not a factor, they know that they're up there in age. I mean, ultimately, it's what happens at the ballot box.
It doesn't help that congressional rules favor seniority and more years equal more power. CBN News chief political correspondent David Brody says while we're seeing the beginning stages of calls for cognitive tests, he sees it as a tough political sell.
You know, it's a sensitive issue, especially when it comes to mental health. I think we're seeing the kind of the germination of it at the beginning stages. And I think, sadly, I think what we've seen with President Biden is that it's all come to the forefront because people have legitimate questions as to whether or not, he's mentally capable of doing the job.
If President Biden wins re-election, he will be 86 by the end of his second term. The current GOP frontrunner, Donald Trump, is 77. If he wins in 2024, he would be just the second person besides Biden to serve as president while in his 80s. Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Turning now to the aftermath of the massive wildfire in Hawaii, the deadliest in the U.S. in more than a century. The number of deaths standing at 99, and the governor says it could double or triple as search crews comb through neighborhoods where flames moved as fast as a mile a minute. Some state officials say there is a shortage of water available for firefighters, and they blame a recent ruling by an environmental court judge. It is part of a long-running battle between environmentalists and private companies over diverting water from East Maui stream. One resident telling Sky News what it was like.
It's a kind of disconcerting feeling when the fire guys show up and they don't have water. I was grabbing water out of the toilet. I was grabbing water out of my Brita filter in the refrigerator.
Many people also complained they weren't properly warned about the fires and the sirens didn't sound. Operation Blessing is on the ground in Hawaii, on the big island of YWAM's Youth of All Nations. YWAM is one of OB's partners ministries who's helping to get supplies to Maui. You can learn more about what Operation Blessing is doing on the ground and how you can help by visiting ob.org. Coming up, a father is sending out a warning about the dangers of fake prescription pills because they contain dangerous amounts of fentanyl. We're going to hear from him right after this. Stay with us.
Your news channel, your shows, the stories you care about. Anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
A father is warning parents about the dangers of fake prescription pills that children are buying on the street because those pills contain deadly amounts of fentanyl. On this week's episode of Healthy Living, David Magee talks about how he lost one son and nearly lost another.
You know, sadly, there's probably nobody watching who either in their family or a friend of a family who hasn't experienced the same thing because we've just been in this crisis. Like, I grew up wondering trying to get a picture of the devil, thinking it was this little person in a red suit. Well, my family found out what that devil is, and it was fentanyl. Our son, William, an honors college student, a track athlete at the University of Mississippi, got into opiates early in the fentanyl game. It was pills, and they were passing them around in communities, and I don't think he even knew what he was getting into. And soon he's addicted, got into treatment, relapsed, and he died of an accidental drug overdose. Our son Hudson, as you mentioned, he nearly died also of an accidental overdose. Literally, by the grace of God, woke up from a coma after 2 days, was not brain damaged, and now he is 11 years sober. So I tell people, don't feel sorry for us. We miss our William, but we do know the gift of recovery, that when you can get in early, it's really important to get in early with your children, and they have a good foundation to draw back on. You can change and save lives.
So talk about this pill situation, the fentanyl in the pills. It sounds to me like your sons, neither one of them, William or Hudson, meant to overdose on fentanyl. And isn't this happening a lot? There's fentanyl in the pills, but people taking the pills don't know it.
No. I tell people, well, sometimes when folks know that I go speak in schools and they're anxious about these students at risk, they'll tell me, David, you've got to get in those schools and scare those students about fentanyl. And I'm like, really? See, I wish it was that simple, because nobody goes seeking it. The problem is we've got a pill addiction in this country. All these drugs and pills came to market for good reason, but there are too many in the marketplace that flooded the marketplace. Then the demand got so high for pills like Adderall, Xanax, Percocet, and there's not enough demand. So the drug dealers figured out, we'll make counterfeit ones. And then if we put a little bit of fentanyl in these crudely, poorly made pills, then they're highly addictive. Most students I know, most adults I know who've gotten hooked to fentanyl got to it that way. They were never seeking it. They got it by buying pills they were calling Adderall or Percocet or, Oxycontin, M30s or Xanax.
And so where are people getting these drugs? You talk about street drugs, but they're not being sold on the street anymore, right? Like on an actual street on the corner, like it used to be.
Hey, no, that's such a great point. What's interesting in the pandemic, for young people in particular, we saw a shift in the pandemic. It's no longer this drug dealer, shady character on the corner. Most often, drug deals are done on their smartphone through different apps. And, there's just this kind of perfect storm of this technology, of social media and availability and how people are reached. Sometimes they'll make buys on their smartphone and get a delivery to the door from one of the popular food delivery services. And it's all cooked up on the phone through social media apps and other messaging that they can make secure and use code talk, and nobody that looks at it even knows what they're talking about.
And you can learn more about how to talk to your children about fentanyl-laced prescription pills tonight on Healthy Living with Lori Johnson. You can find it on the CBN News channel. It begins at 8:30 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Still ahead, we're going to take you behind the scenes of CBN's docudrama Oracles of God. We'll visit the latest sites like where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, see the meticulous attention to detail behind this production, and hear what inspired the writer and the director of this epic film. Right after this. CBN's docudrama Oracles of God traces how the Word of God became the Bible we read today, from the history of the ancient scrolls to the work habits of the scribes who copied them. The movie covers every detail. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell went behind the scenes to show us the making of this tool aimed at helping Christians defend their faith.
This is one of the many sets used in the making of the Oracles of God. The film also used on-location sites like Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. This set recreated the historic moment on November 29, 1947, when the United Nations voted to partition Palestine into an Arab state and a Jewish state.
It was the exact night that a Jewish archaeologist brought the Dead Sea Scrolls home to what would soon become the state of Israel. He said something to the effect of, "I can't help but see the significance of this coming home after 2,000 years, the night that we get our independence back. It's as if they were waiting in those caves for us." So they saw it. So of course, how can we not see it?
Aaron Zimmerman wrote and directed The Oracles of God.
The title actually comes from Romans 3. You know, what advantage has the Jew? Much in every way, for to them were given the oracles of God, meaning God trusted them so much, he entrusted them with his word. So we're showing that process of how through the centuries and how through the millennia, they not only took it down, but they painstakingly copied and translated to such an extent that you can't even say that they're not accurate, because they measured the margins, they measured the letters, they counted every single thing that could be counted. So basically this title is saying these are the people to whom God entrusted his word.
Sharon Shavit produced the film, years in the making.
Every shot in this film is special. It's epic. It's the art department, it's the makeup, it's the dresser. Everything is authentic. The amount of research that Aaron, the director, did for this film, and the research, it's just a preparation. We are working here for half a year, but this project has been in CBN, I think, for years, and you will see it on screen. I've been producer for 25 years, and I've worked in many productions. For me, this is the most unique.
They paid meticulous attention to detail, like recreating the actual front pages of this newsstand. On that day, an ad in the Wall Street Journal led to more Dead Sea Scrolls that had been found in the caves of Qumran. It wasn't possible to film in the caves of Qumran, so the production built this set to recreate the place where Bedouin shepherds discovered the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century.
It was a very, very difficult production. Very difficult. We had nothing. We had to create everything from scratch. And so we have to create all this world from scratch. Now I can say that we really succeed to create this world.
My favorite thing was when we were in Qumran, we recreated the world of the Essenes, and for the first time in 2000 years, we got the permit to fill the real mikveh with water. So for me, it was really a very special filming day, and I'm sure the audience will enjoy it and will be very moved by it.
When a set is built so accurately, our job is very easy. We just have to slip in, because the way this whole production is being arranged really is outstanding.
Our director, she knows how to work with everybody, with the actors and with the cameraman, and she knows exactly what she wants, and it's so easy, no tension at all.
I found the research that Aaron did, it was full and complete, it was beautiful. It was very easy to give her what really she dreamed of.
Zimmerman says the film is a Jewish story.
I don't care if you're Catholic, if you're Protestant, if you're Jewish, whoever reads the Bible, if you read the Bible and get something out of it, you owe a huge debt to the Jewish people. And they should have our gratitude. And I hope that that's part of what this film does.
And I think it's very important to tell the story, the Jewish story, And for me, as an Israeli, it's just fantastic that people will learn about the Jewish history.
Zimmerman hopes Oracles of God gives Christians a tool in the defense of their faith.
I want them to have something that can say, no, these are the facts, because that's what we're doing. Can we prove this is the Word of God? I cannot empirically prove that. That is a matter of faith. Can I prove that it was translated properly? Can I prove that the book of Isaiah that we had in the time of the Dead Sea Scrolls around when Jesus was alive is the same book of Isaiah that we had 1,000 years later in a different set of manuscripts? Yes, we can say those are 95% identical. So we see how correctly it has been preserved over the ages. And you know what that other 5%? Grammar and spelling. So
Grammar and spelling.
Grammar and
really?
spelling, yes. 1,000 years, grammar and spelling have changed. So I hope this gives a good factual, historical look at just how things were translated and how they were kept very consistent the whole way.
Zimmerman hopes the film dispels some of the myths of the Bible.
And most of the documentaries about the Bible come from the standpoint of it's a fairy tale, or it was the books of the Bible were chosen for political reasons, and there's this deep, dark, mysterious secret why these other books weren't included, or just it wasn't translated correctly and we can't trust it. So every documentary on this topic that I've watched has come from one of those viewpoints. So I want to give Christians and even Jewish people will love this movie because it's a very Jewish story. I want to give them something to watch that's the truth, just the facts.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, on the set of The Oracles of God.
We'll be right back with an encouraging word for your day ahead. Stay with us.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
It's time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. This is a message I pray will bless you, and you will post, tag, tweet, and share with those in your circles of influence. It is my daily prayer. God, help me to love your timing more than my own. Your time is not only better for me, it is perfect for me. With this prayer, I pray we all grow in patience as we are in process. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online. That's cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.